All right, so it's time for my review of the third episode of the Halo Paramount Plus series. I just watched the third episode. I finished it up about half an hour ago, and I want to give my thoughts. I'm going to keep reviewing every single episode here live on Twitch, and then uploading the VOD, at least the review, to YouTube. So if you want to watch more of my Halo reviews or any of my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video if you do enjoy this review, and leave a comment with what you thought about the third episode. Here are my thoughts, and unfortunately, they're not good. And I've tried to go into this show with a very open mind. I am a longtime Halo fan. I've been a fan since Halo CE. I have read almost all the books. I think I skipped a few there for a few years. I can't even tell you which ones I skipped, but I've read most of the books, going back to the originals when I was in like early high school, like way back. Halo CE came out in 2001. I graduated in 2005 from high school. So here are my thoughts on this show, or on this episode of the show. If you want my thoughts on the first two episodes, go back and look on the YouTube channel. I've got a serious problem at this point, though. And like watching these trailers, I was critical of the trailers, but I was still open-minded. I want this show to be good, right? As a Halo fan, I want this show to be good for the Halo brand. I want the Halo brand to succeed, and there's a lot of toxicity happening in the Halo community right now that I'm really not thrilled with, and I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want to add fuel to the fire. The blowback over the cookbook and all that stuff is just nonsense. But here's my thoughts after watching this third episode of Halo the series. This is a generic sci-fi show with the Halo name on it. At this point, all of the DNA of what makes Halo is virtually absent. What they are doing with Master Chief, Master Chief's always been a character. I know that they want to humanize him more, and that's been one of the goals of 343 with Halo 4 and 5 and Infinite. And I think especially Infinite did a good job of humanizing Master Chief even more, and not too much. But I mean, Master Chief basically walks around this entire episode just with kind of like dumb looks on his face. He's looking at people smiling, and he's like having these like, oh my god, there's people smiling, and like, I don't have a problem with Master Chief being happy or whatever, but this whole storyline that they're telling, it's just flat out not interesting. And I'm already annoyed with how far they are taking this storyline of the UNSC controlling Master Chief, controlling the Spartans. And I don't just mean by like giving them orders and using them as, military assets. That's always been a thing. And, there's tons of themes throughout the Halo games, and more specifically the books, though, about the UNSC, doing dark things and exercising influence over the Spartans. We all know how the Spartan program began. These children were essentially abducted, and experiments were ran on them, and so on. That's all well and good. That's part of the storyline, the DNA of the franchise. But this storyline of like Master Chief, he's learning his memories through this artifact, through this object. It's just not compelling. Like, okay, he's learning. First of all, why is this artifact helping him remember things? And this Forerunner artifact, and it is making Master Chief remember things. It doesn't make any sense. And again, it's not interesting. But then, the big reveal towards the end of this episode was that Master Chief, John, Spartan 117, he's remembering these things, right? He happened to know where the other part of this artifact is. Like, he had seen it before as a child. So not only is this excuse me. Not only is this super soldier, he's been enhanced, and he's a natural leader, and he's stronger than all the Spartans. He's battle tested. He's humanity's best hope. Blah 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 blah. But he also, as a child, happens to be the only person apparently who knows where this artifact, the second part of this artifact, artifact is, and that is such a stretch. It's so absurd and ridiculous, and it's not what ever made Master Chief. So like, Master Chief became the Master Chief that we know, you know, the one who gave hope to humanity by destroying Halo. But they've already injected this he's the savior of humanity flavor to Master Chief before Halo has even been discovered in this show. So it's like they've got things like all out of whack and backwards, and like this show hasn't done a good job at all. We're 3 episodes in now of demonstrating, you know, why is the Master Chief the hope of humanity? Why do people look to the Master Chief and think, like, look at him as a hero? They've shown none of that. They did show him in battle once. They showed all the Spartans in battle in the opening episode, and you know, they've described how strong Spartans are. They talked about the Spartans and the UNSC assassinating rebels, which would certainly not make most people view Master Chief as, you know, a hero. And you know, there are characters who have, you know, obviously when the Spartans first dropped down, the humans on Madrigal were not happy to see them. They viewed them as the enemy. So there's just these weird, like, it's like they expect the viewer to just know, like, this guy is the hero and he's so great, but they're not demonstrating it through the show. They've just got, you know, Pornstache walking around and giving weird looks, and yeah, he's jacked, and we know how strong he is. We've seen him in battle. We know how compelling of a warrior he is, and we've heard he's a good leader. But they haven't done a good job of showing us what makes the Master Chief a great character, or even, and I'm not blaming the actor, because I don't think it's the actor's fault at this point. It's the plot and the writing. They haven't shown us who Master Chief is. Why is he important? The reason they're saying he's important is because at this point, well, he knows where this artifact is. And that's, I don't know, it's just a little ridiculous to me. The whole Cortana angle got detailed this episode. You know, we saw the actual creation of Cortana. We saw that Master Chief really didn't want Cortana at all. We saw he's very apprehensive about it, and she's kind of overly eager to help. Not even overly eager to help. That's always been the case, and that's actually been a charming part of her character, I think. But she's actually, like, she obviously doesn't even trust the Master Chief at this point. He doesn't trust her, and she doesn't trust the Master Chief. She's just reporting directly to Halsey, and she's basically Halsey's plaything. And that is kind of why she was made. But by the way, the CG or makeup or whatever on her Flash clone, the Halsey Flash clone that they used to create Cortana, not good. Not good at all. It was unsettling in a way that I think it was supposed to be, but it looked not good. Anyway, the way they've introduced Cortana is almost adversarial, which I think is a mistake. When Cortana was introduced in Halo CE, and I know there, you know, there's lore in the books and stuff that precludes Halo CE, but she was introduced to audiences as, you know, your companion, and she was the one who, you know, Master Chief was very quiet and stoic, and obviously that he doesn't need to be super quiet in the show. That'd kind of be boring. But she was the one who filled in the blanks for you and kind of cracked some jokes and added some humor and some color and stuff. And then obviously she was integral in all of the Master Chief's success. But in this, she's like she basically wants to take over Master Chief, not like work with him, but she keeps volunteering, like, oh, you want me to take over control of Master Chief? Like, I really don't like this. I don't like this angle at all. It really makes you, I think, it makes Master Chief less compelling of a character, because there's this AI in his head, essentially, that will, you know, the UNSC is just willing to, like, just take over Master Chief, like, and totally, literally mind control him. And I don't like that. I feel like it's generic, you know, mind controlling the super soldier. They've done enough of that with the, you know, he's got a pellet in his back that controls his emotions that he removed this episode. Obviously he doesn't remember his childhood, or he's slowly remembering it, but the Spartans don't in general. So they've been made blank slates. That's always been part of it. They were taken as children away from their families and made into super soldiers with no choice. And that's just it. They had no choice at all. Their freedom was robbed of them. Their choice was robbed of them, and they were turned into these instruments by the UNSC. But now in this, they're making it literally like, oh, these instruments we're gonna directly mind control them. Like, that's just, it's silly. It's not really in line with, again, in my opinion, the DNA of Halo. And I'm just not thrilled. And I'm sure, it'll change. And by the end of the season or whatever, Cortana's gonna trust Master Chief and vow to never take control of him like that again. And Master Chief's gonna trust Cortana or whatever. They will develop that dynamic that we know. I hope. I assume. The whole angle they're taking is very odd. And then, you saw the other Spartan witness Master Chief take his hormone tablet or whatever out of his back. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. Maybe he'll tell. Maybe she'll tell. Keys or that Admiral's at I don't know how to pronounce it. Parangowski or I can't pronounce it or properly. Or it's nothing so far in this whole series has really demonstrated the war between humans and the Covenant that well. It almost seems like a series of skirmishes or just like a background plot and not like the main plot. But then we've got this human, the female human villain, who she had kind of her big scene this week where she basically solos a human ship and kills everybody on board with the hunter worms. I wasn't too upset or even upset at all, I guess, by this look at the hunter worms. We had never seen hunter worms in the games utilized this way. They weren't in their armor. They were free flowing throughout the ship and like almost in a horror style display, basically strangling the Marines and the captain of the ship, and they literally killed everybody, which is certainly like an imposing villain. But she seemed to be mind controlling them, it seems, which is another odd take that I don't really agree with. Maybe I don't know, maybe they just take orders from her. She wasn't mind controlling them. Either way, I thought most of that scene was fine. What I didn't like is the slow motion, her just walking through as the hunter worms are attacking, and the Marines are firing on all of these hunter worms, which they started immediately. Like, they immediately knew what was going on. They all started firing at the hunter worms. There was no like surprise. I mean, there was a surprise, but it wasn't like they weren't prepared. They were totally prepared and started fighting immediately. And she just slowly walks through it all. None of the Marines take a shot at her. Nothing. They just attack. And at no point do any of the Marines, including the captain of the ship, they could have literally killed this person. They didn't even attempt to. They just, fought the hunter worms and just even I feel like when they all knew they were gonna die, like it looked like, okay, we're gonna lose. Not one of them decided like, okay, this woman was the one who did this to us. I'm gonna just pop a shot at her. I just thought it was a little. I could have done without the over the top. I'm slow motion walking through everything, and I'm not even gonna get shot at. It just, and then one of the prophets also says that she has the same gifts as Master Chief, and she's vowed to kill Master Chief like right off, like already, like she knows who Master Chief is, and she's vowed to kill him. What gift does she have? Because she doesn't have the same gifts as the Spartans, that's for sure. She doesn't have the same enhancement. She's not a Spartan program. They even gave her background story in the beginning of this episode, how the Covenant actually came to discover her, so to speak. And she did have some type of what they call it, the luminary or something. They had some device that sensed her, so maybe she had some type of ability as a child. There's something special about her that they found. But I thought that opening scene was actually not very good. I thought the acting in it was kind of, again, very generic sci-fi. There's just these people like this set was not really good. It was like a bunch of people digging through garbage, and of course there's the mean human overlords, enslaving little kids, and I don't know. There's just so much here. It seems like they're taking tons of sci-fi tropes, they're implementing it. It's not like awful. Like, it's not like egregious writing. None of the acting is particularly bad. There's just nothing really about it that even like makes it Halo, other than, yes, some of these characters are the characters from the Halo games or books with the same personality elements. Obviously, they have the same armor, and there's background story. It's just, to me, I'm really curious to talk to more people who haven't played the games or haven't read the books, and hear, because I'm hearing that a lot of those people are liking this. And I would never take away from somebody who's like enjoying something. I don't want to be like, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about. If you like it, you like it. I don't want to be like one of those gatekeeping fans. But as a fan, like, what I'm seeing isn't very Halo. It's just not. And it kind of makes me sad. It does make me a little sad. Not like, again, not towards these viewers who haven't played the games or read the books. It makes me sad that I feel like they're not getting the same story that I love, that I know and love. And it's totally fair for them to know and love this story. I would never tell them again that they are wrong. You're free to like whatever you want. But it just makes me sad. Like, I know there's more episodes to go, and I hope it improves. But since the premiere, I actually thought the premiere is the best episode so far, because that at least felt like a decent chunk of Halo there, fighting the Covenant in the opening scene, and saving the one character there. And I had some disagreements and issues with that episode as well, but there was a good bit there that felt like Halo to me, and it was exciting and compelling. These second two episodes, though, haven't really given me any hope. It feels like any generic sci-fi show, and it just, again, there's so many sci-fi tropes here. I don't even think I don't want to call it low budget, because it's not, but it doesn't feel particularly like big budget either. Like, this does not feel like up to the quality of like an HBO series, for example. And I can't remember, was HBO ever involved in any of the failed Showtime or any of the failed Halo shows? Because they tried to do this show like literally like 3 or 4 times over the last like 10-15 years, and it would always, it always fell apart or something would happen. I don't think HBO was ever involved. I know Showtime was at one point. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep watching. I'm gonna keep reviewing every single episode, but there were multiple times this episode where I straight up was like, I don't know, like, I wanted to shut it off, because it was just like, there were just moments of cringe where I was just like, come on, man, like, are they actually gonna do this? Like, Cortana, do you want me to take control of them? Do you want me to take control of them? You want me to take control of them? And again, the female villain, whose name escapes me. I don't even know if they keep calling her the Blessed One. I'm sure they've said her name somewhere, but I haven't caught it. Just slowly walking through, and nobody's shooting at her because they just want to show that she's such a badass, We'll see where it goes. I truly, I don't even know how many episodes this season is. I assume it's at least 8, if not 10. But I mean, where's this show gonna go by the end of the first season? Are they gonna like discover Halo at the very end of the season? Are we gonna see anything like the fall of Reach this season? I'm assuming not. Where's it gonna go? Are we actually gonna see the Flood in this show? Because that hunter worm thing today, all I kept thinking was, this is very similar to how like a Flood scene would play. The hunter worms are all coming in and swarming the Marines, and it had a horror vibe to it, and that element wasn't bad. But I was like, well, this kind of feels like what the Flood would feel like. So, I mean, can you really discover Halo? I mean, you could still discover Halo and realize, oh my god, these are weapons, and you still have that whole storyline. I'm assuming what's going to happen is, you know, humans also discover the Halos. Covenant and the humans are racing to get to the Halos because they find out they're a weapon. Humans want to use the Halos to win the war against the Covenant, and then the humans are going to find out, oh no, just like they do in Halo CE, except it's a surprise at that point, you know, that they're going to wipe out the whole galaxy. It's done through a lot different. The flavor and the context is a lot different in Halo CE, because Halo CE, everything was like very much like a snap choice and like consequence. You know, like we didn't seek out Halo, we kind of stumbled there on accident, and then we're only going by like what the monitors are telling us, and all that stuff. So I think it'll be a little different in this. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and I still think this female villain is probably going to, at the last minute, betray the Covenant, or, you know, realize the Covenant was wrong, or tricking her, betraying her. You know, maybe she doesn't know that the rings are going to destroy the whole universe. You know, maybe she thinks it's only going to destroy the humans, and then she finds out too, oh god, they're going to destroy everything, and then, you know, she betrays the Covenant, dies, or, you know, helps Master Chief, and ends up saving us and helping destroy the first Halo or whatever. I really don't see us getting to Halo in this first season, actually getting to the Halo. Maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong, but at the pace the story is going, it's going very slow. It's providing a lot of backstory, I guess, but again, I don't think this backstory is particularly compelling. I don't know. I'll keep watching. I'm gonna review it, but please let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry, I don't want to come off as negative, but I just feel they're missing a lot of beats with this. They're missing a lot of the big important things that make Halo Halo, and it just feels like something else, just with the Halo name on it and a few key story elements plucked from Halo lore. And I got a ton of flack for this, for talking about this. I made a TikTok about it. I tweeted about it. I got a ton of flack for, you know, giving the showrunner hell for saying that we didn't look at the games and we didn't want to feel limited by the story of the games and crap. The more and more I watch, the more I think like they truly do not understand what makes Halo Halo. It's one thing to look at a story and look at it and say, we're gonna change it, and we want to change it because of X, Y, and Z. It's not always the same doing a game as a movie or a show. You have to change certain things. Certain things might not work that well on TV as they did in the games, or hey, the story in the games isn't perfect. Feel free to try your own thing and to supplement the story or make certain elements better. You don't need to follow that exact same storyline at all. But what I'm seeing makes me think that they truly did not grasp what makes Halo Halo. And we will see. We will see. But so far, I'm again, it's not a complete abomination. It's not that bad, like, to the fact where I'm like embarrassed, but it's kind of teetering. As a fan, it's near that line. Like, I would have given that last episode like probably like I would give I haven't rated any of the episodes, but I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. There's nothing that's horrendous, like I said, but it doesn't even feel like a Halo show. That's my biggest criticism. So that's it. If you enjoyed the video, if you made it this far, like the video. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews and more of my content. Come chat with me on Twitch or in my Discord. All those links are down in the description. I'm going to play some Apex Legends on Twitch right now.